Chapter 10. The Shadow Guardian. The jungle fell into an almost supernatural silence as the last rays of sunlight surrendered to the encroaching night. Darkness crept in, swallowing the dense foliage in its shadowy embrace. Martine's flashlight carved faint paths through the blackness, but its weak beam only made the encircling void seem more menacing. His breath caught in his throat as a new presence made itself known, something beyond the natural order of the forest. A rustling sound, low and deliberate, broke the stillness. He spun around, but his eyes found nothing. The jungle seemed alive, its movements subtle yet deliberate, as though unseen eyes were fixed upon him. The air grew colder, dense with an unshakable weight. Martine's pulse quickened, the rational part of his mind struggling to contain the rising tide of dread. Then it emerged. At first it was indistinguishable from the shadows, a faint distortion in the darkness. Slowly, a figure took shape, stepping forward as if born from the jungle itself. It was humanoid, but eerily unnatural. Its body seemed crafted from the elements around it. Gnarled roots twisted into limbs, a torso wrapped in layers of moss, and a face that was more absence than form. Hollow eyes glowed faintly, emitting a dim, greenish light, like two embers lost in a storm. Each movement it made was fluid, almost otherworldly, as though it weren't bound by the same rules of existence. Martine froze, his instincts battling between fight and flight. His lips parted to speak, but no sound escaped. The figure didn't approach, nor did it retreat. It simply stood, watching him with an intensity that felt ancient, almost sentient. The melody that had haunted him throughout his journey began to hum faintly in the air, resonating with an unsettling harmony. Martine's mind raced. What was this being? A guardian of the jungle? A manifestation of his growing madness? Or something far older and more powerful than he dared to imagine? He clutched his field notebook tightly, as if its pages of scientific observations could anchor him to reality. Summoning his courage, Martine took a cautious step forward. The figure tilted its head, a gesture that seemed both curious and foreboding. Its hollow gaze bored into him, not with malice, but with an inscrutable judgment. Martine felt an inexplicable wave of emotions crash over him, fear, awe, and a strange sense of unworthiness. It was as though the jungle itself had come to life to question his presence. Who are you? Martin finally managed to whisper, though his voice trembled like a fragile thread. The figure offered no reply. Instead, the faint glow in its eyes pulsed briefly, as if acknowledging his question. Martine felt a pressure in the air, a presence so profound it was almost suffocating. The figure began to move, not walking, but shifting, its form blending with the surrounding shadows. It circled Martine silently, its movements like a predator observing its prey. Yet there was no aggression in its behavior, only an unnerving deliberation. Martine's heart pounded as he turned to follow its movements, the beam of his flashlight flickering against the creature's shifting form. Suddenly, Martine was struck by a flood of images, visions that weren't his own. He saw ancient rituals performed under a full moon, where figures adorned in feathers and paint danced around massive trees. He heard the rhythmic chanting of voices, their words incomprehensible, yet filled with purpose. And then he saw himself, an outsider, standing on sacred ground that was never meant for him. The visions faded as abruptly as they came, leaving Martine breathless and disoriented. The figure stood still once more, its hollow eyes fixed on him. Martine realized that this being Whatever it was, wasn't here to harm him. It was here to judge him. His ambition, his intrusion, his quest for discovery, all were being weighed against the jungle's ancient laws. "I didn't come to harm," Martin said, his voice barely audible. "I only wanted to understand." The figure's gaze didn't waver, but its form began to dissolve. Its edges blurred, disintegrating into fragments of leaves and tendrils of shadow. Within moments, it was gone, leaving only the oppressive silence of the jungle behind. But Martin knew it hadn't truly left. Its presence lingered, woven into the very fabric of the forest. Martin sank to the ground, his legs unable to support him any longer. The encounter had shaken him to his core, yet it left him with an undeniable truth. The jungle was more than a collection of plants and animals. It was alive, conscious, and ancient beyond comprehension. And Martin was a mere speck in its vast, unfathomable existence. The melody that had guided him all this way began to play again. Faint, but insistent, it called to him, drawing him deeper into the unknown. Martin looked into the darkness, his resolve wavering. He could still turn back, retrace his steps, and leave this place behind. But the lure of the song was too strong, its mystery too tantalizing. Taking a deep breath, Martin rose to his feet. His fear hadn't disappeared, but it was now joined by something else, a profound sense of purpose. He adjusted his backpack, tightened his grip on the flashlight, and stepped forward, following the melody into the heart of the jungle. The forest watched. The end of this story is just the beginning of something new. As the final lines fade into the echo of mystery, new tales are about to emerge, full of intrigue, emotions, and unexpected twists. Stay tuned, because the unknown is approaching, and perhaps the best is yet to be told. Are you ready for what's coming?